Let's get started then. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this one-of-a-kind discussion about adopting AI in finance and accounting. Right. My name is Deepak. Ayo, Anna, and Niyati are our panelists, and Rajiv will be the moderator. I will be the anchor of this discussion and take care of logistics. This will be a 60-minute session, 40 minutes of discussion and 20 minutes Q&A session at the end. And let me start by introducing our panelists. Right. First up is Ayo Fashina. Ayo is an engineer turned banker and an ex-CFO of Kobo 360. He has corporate finance, M&A, product operations, and business development experience. He is a chartered global management consultant, a member of the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments, a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, a startup advisor, and an emerging markets investment professional who has worked, lived, and studied in North America, Europe, and Africa. Welcome, Ayo. Thanks for being a part of this panel. Next is Anna Tiomina. Anna is an ex-CFO of Softech and a strategic financial leader with over 10 years of experience in international companies across diverse industries. She is an AI enthusiast, passionate about exploring how AI can revolutionize financial strategies and operations, eager to share knowledge and insights in this field, and continuously seek ways to incorporate AI to enhance financial decision-making and business performance. Next up is Rajiv. Rajiv Pathak is the co-founder and CEO of Hyperbots. He has over 30 years of experience in building technology products and businesses for global markets. He has managed the technology business for Wipro and GM and vertical head, handling a business of over $100 million. This is Rajiv's second AI venture, the first being in education AI between 2011 and 2020, which was sold to a Fortune 100 enterprise. The reason he co-founded Hyperbots is that he wanted to build the best AI for finance, having struggled in managing finance and accounting efficiently in prior roles. And lastly, we have Niyati. She is the co-founder and VP of AI at Hyperbots. She has more than 11 years of experience at Adobe with over 40 patents and 50 publications, with a PhD in machine learning from the University of Maryland in the field of NLP and computer vision. Niyati co-founded Hyperbots with Rajiv because she wanted to see her ideas having an immediate and real impact on products beyond research. So that's your panel today, folks. Welcome everyone, and I'll let Rajiv, take it from here.
Thanks so much, Deepak. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Anna. Good morning, Yati, and good morning, participants. So I think before we start, I would like to sort of expand on agenda for today. We have 60 minutes and we will have 4 rounds. Round 1 would essentially be about we sort of summarizing the business processes in finance and accounting that we will discuss today from AI applicability standpoint. Round 2 would be about brainstorming about AI advancements, especially relevant for finance and accounting. And we will also discuss a few three, four use cases in every, significant business process of finance and accounting, and we will try to outline that as well. In round 3, we will see if we have to adopt AI in these business processes of various finance and accounting activities, then what would be the ROI for each of the process? And we will also discuss or try to recommend a roadmap or the sequence in which these processes should be picked up for AI implementation. And final round is about Q&A. So let's get started. Ayo, good morning once again. I would like to start with you. Would you like to highlight or summarize in some sense to all of us the key business processes that exist in finance and accounting, and especially the ones that we will be evaluating today from AI standpoint?
Thank you, Rajiv. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our participants, because I'm sure people are joining from all over the world. So back to your question. The main functions of finance and accounting are just the key ones I'll mention here. Procure to pay, which is when you're ordering things. Order to cash, expense management. We have tax compliance. We have treasury management. We have financial planning and analysis, as well as mergers and acquisitions. Now, those are the 7 key areas of finance and accounting that I think it's something that we could discuss that AI may be pertinent towards supporting.
Sure, thanks, Ayo. Now, before we dwell deeper into these business processes for possible AI use cases, I would request you to sort of, outline the nature of business activities that exist in these functions, right? One end of the spectrum could be labor-intensive manual activities. Another end of the spectrum would be strategic activities. So could you do some classification with some examples?
Sure. So the way I would classify this, the nature of activities could be manual, which is somebody inputting data, is analytical or strategic. Now, an example of a manual activity is something like invoice data entry into an ERP or an accounting system. An example of an analytical activity, I would say, is something like creating a customer priority lists for collections. And an example of a strategic activity would be deciding a go or no-go strategy for an investment. So you have excess cash, you're trying to see where to put the money. How do you determine that? That's a strategic activity. And that's something that policy usually is written around.
Sure. I also looks like there is a mix of labor intensive, analytical, and strategic activities in these functions that you outlined. So the I have next question is again in the similar direction. Essentially, would like to know your perspective as to which of these processes that we talked about or you talked about has maximum manual activities requiring highest amount of labor.
So if we look at those processes, we can quickly recognize that a high level of manual activity would be prevalent in the first three. So the procure to pay, order to cash, and expense management. There's a lot of manual processing that's involved in those processes. So in procure to pay, for example, companies need to essentially manually enter the data into the system from an invoice that's received. They also need to check it and match it against the purchase order that went out initially, and also need to match it to a delivery note. All these are done manually, and it's a tedious work that you need an accounting clerk or clerks, depending on how much of these kind of transactions you have in a company, to do. And then you have monthly activities like which ones are accrued, which ones have been paid, and you have to do all those things manually. That's why typically when you look at a mid-sized organization, the finance team is sizable compared to the rest of the organization. That's because you have all this different tedious manual work that's been done. Now, in order to cash, the manual activities are necessarily around tracking and reconciling the payments against the invoices, and then the whole payment and collection process. Because when orders go out, you now have receivables that you have to track, and you have people that's chasing people to get the receivables back into the company. Now, with expense management, we all know that nobody really likes doing expenses. We go out, you travel, maybe you take clients out, and then you come back and you have to retire your expenses. It's a tedious work that I know all of us don't like doing, but we have to do because companies need to keep track of what's going on, and we need to settle the expenses. And you need to compare expenses to policies. You need to make sure that whatever is being done is done right. You need to make sure that it's paid and reimbursed if the employee has used part of his money. And these are activities that are labor intensive, but not really their value add, if you ask me. So it's a prime candidate for AI adoption, in my opinion.
Sure, Ayo. So to summarize, you said procure to pay, order to cash, expense management are three possible, three processes wherein highest amount of manual activities that exist in finance and accounting, and potentially this would be very seriously considered for AI adoption. Thanks so much for those inputs. Now, I would like to come to you, Anna. Good morning once again. You talked about these three processes and the nature of activities in those processes predominantly. I would like you to share your perspective on other functions in finance and accounting, namely tax compliance, treasury, FP&A and M&A. Do you think they are largely analytical and strategic? Would love to hear your opinion on this.
Sure, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Great to see so many participants on this Friday morning, evening. Everybody's probably already looking forward to the weekend, but we still have some things to do, right? So My perspective on tax and compliance, treasury, FP&A, and M&A is that there is a certain amount of manual work in these four processes, but they are mostly analytical slash strategic. You have to really know the tax landscape when you're doing the tax preparation and reporting, and this is why we hire expensive companies to do taxes for us, right? It's not that easy. You have to make a lot of different decisions on how to book what and how to report what. In FP&A, there is a part of manual work when you are preparing spreadsheets or collecting data, but a lot of FP&A activities are analytical and also strategic. In M&A, you really need to be negotiating a lot, which you can hardly delegate to AI, but you can use some AI in deal preparation, in comparison of the proposals, in maybe tracking the documents that you use. And the treasury function, which is one of the key functions in finance, is responsible for managing financial risks. So therefore, there is a lot of judgment understanding those risks. Again, you can use some AI to prepare the information, to collect the documents, but the judgment needs to be made by humans.
Sure, Anna. So essentially, you are saying that wherever, I mean, these FP&A, M&A, treasury, and tax planning and compliance, there are a lot of strategic decision making, a lot of strategic activities that humans do, and humans' judgment are necessary. So these, wherever human judgment is needed, it is very difficult for AI to come in, right? I mean, I'm just trying to summarize. Am I right, Anna?
Not, I would say, so that would not be the first recommendation to implement AI in these functions. You would start with something more manual, something that Ayu talked about, and the function that I mentioned might be the next step, or maybe in a couple of steps ahead. But there are, shades. It's not all black and white.
Sure, sure. Okay. Is it because you believe that labor-intensive activities and processes are easy, for AI, strategic are harder, or you are saying this for any other reason?
No, I'm not saying about ease or difficulty. Of course, like the current level of AI, the way that I see, AI can handle pretty difficult tasks, right? What it can't handle is a lot of shades and expertise that humans have, and not just any human, right? An expert in his or her field has. And when we are thinking about our job as finance top executives, we can't sometimes even define the way we're making our decisions, because it's a lot of experience and a lot of, life examples that we went through that allows us to make responsible decisions in every case. But also using AI for more easier tasks, for simpler tasks, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, because these tasks are also more prone to errors, and AI can help reduce the level of errors in these tasks and eventually free up the time of senior executives to do more strategic and analytical tasks versus more basic document handling, information handling.
Sure, great, Anna. Thanks. I would agree with you, and I think it also gives a lot of us a sigh of relief that finance and accounting will always have analytical and strategic dimension in its operations, and therefore skilled accounting and finance humans would always be needed to drive the business of the company. So thanks for those inputs, Anna.
Sure.
Now let me talk about what we would be discussing in next round. I think next round, as I talked right in the beginning, we will talk about advancements in AI which are relevant for finance and accounting, and we will be outlining the use cases in detail, in each one of these areas, which are probably the low-hanging fruits for AI. But before we go there, Deepak, would you like to conduct an audience poll on what
Yes,
we discussed
yes.
so far? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of polls, folks, which we will present to you. This one is the first one. Just give me a second and I'll pull that up here. Right, so I'm going to just launch that poll. Hope everyone is able to see this. The question here is, which of the following has the highest degree of manual tasks? And you can select from these multiple options here. You have 15 seconds to answer. I can see the responses coming in pretty quickly, so that's great.
Deepak, if time is over, can we see
Right.
the results, please? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to end it. We have around 66% responses. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So there you go.
All right. So this is probably broadly in line with what Ayo and Anna outlined, that procure to pay, order to cash, employee expense management seem like the processes wherein there is a high quantum of manual activities followed by tax and compliance, which is also a good input from audience. So audience, thank you very much for your responses. Appreciate it.
I'm going to stop sharing. Thanks everyone for the responses.
Thanks, Deepak. So, in the next round, I would begin with Niyati. Niyati, good morning. Niyati, I think first question, which we all are very keen to learn from you, is that AI has been there for decades. Machine learning has been there, natural language processing also has been there for many, many years, right? What has changed in last 2 years that is making almost every field amenable for AI adoption? And especially from the context of finance and accounting, how would you outline these advancements in AI?
Sure. So, like you said, AI has been around for a while. It's just that only now the ability for these machines, or say neural networks, to process unstructured data and help automate tasks which historically, or which are believed to be human intelligent tasks, has come up. And specifically from the technology side, the reason this is now possible is large language models, right? So one, you have large language models that have accelerated these AI systems' ability to understand language, retrieve information from them, summarize them, generate new language or generate new text, and then start doing conversation. We also have transformer architectures, which are new or transformer-based frameworks. Essentially, these frameworks allow us to codify unstructured information across any modality. And hence you can do any kind of processing on top of them, be it your prediction or a classification or your forecasting, or again your generations. And finally, parallelly, on the science, on the side of econometrics or statistics as well, data-driven methods have become more mature. So especially from a finance perspective, when we look at the data, when we look at the information, we have two things. We have unstructured document like content coming in for the processes Ayo and Anna have been talking about. At the same time, we have a lot of math, a lot of numbers, and a lot of information in terms of just pure structured data, which are trends over time. Now, ability to process both of these in a combined manner has recently been started because of these models that I just talked about.
Sure, Niyati. I think so. One thread I will pick up on what you just said, that large language models, have come up over the last 2 years, and they are adding significant value even in finance and accounting. Now, large language model for a lot of us laymen from machine learning perspective, we always think it is about content generation, right? We all know ChatGPT, you can do Q&A and so on and so forth. But finance and accounting, you will see a lot of tasks is about decision making, right? Understanding documents, understanding the information, taking decisions, right? So what is how large language models get applied to financial decision making?
Sure. So let me go back to the basics. These large language models are based on what is known as a transformer architecture. What is this big thing about a transformer architecture? These are blocks of neural networks which have a notion or a technique called self-attention or multi-headed attention. Essentially, these networks know where to focus on your data, and they also know how to consume sequential data and process it. So how do you start building relationships? That's where all your document understanding or content understanding will come into play, right? Because these models now can understand sequences, they know what not to look at and what to look at, which is what to focus at. They can help you do these decision-making tasks because they will filter out all unwanted information if you train them correctly. Your large language models are nothing but transformer decoders, which are essentially, once this information is crunched in, they help you decode that back into language or back into the form that a user may be interested in. So in this case, all the everyone on the CFO's office or the CFO, anyone related to that function, right? So that's why, because these models now understand sequence and then they know where to focus. And that combination has been extremely lethal in terms of ability for these models to do great things.
Got it. So essentially, what I understood was that with help of transformer, now we can understand finance documents better. For example, we can accurately process invoices, understand that and extract information. We can do same thing probably for purchase orders, contracts, and any other information wherein the data is large. If we have to understand it better and with higher accuracy, maybe these LLMs or transformer model become very handy now, right? That's what I understood.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Niyati. I would like to now come to you, and in the context of what Niyati said, the advancements in AI, we would now like to come to, let's say, procure to pay process, and would like your opinion and views on where AI can add value in procure to pay.
Thank you, Rajiv. When you think about procure to pay, what you're trying to do is match purchase order, which is what went out from the company, to the invoice that came back from the vendor, and also to the delivery notes or confirmation when you receive the goods or services done. So if that's what you're trying to do, I believe that AI, based on what the RTS said, could be used to actually do most of the processes that's involved in the invoice processing. I'd say it should be able to do over 80% of invoice processing. Now, this includes automated invoice extraction. So you extract the pertinent data from the invoice, from the purchase order, and from the delivery notes. You have to understand it, you have to validate it, match it to each other. And then once it's properly matched, whether it's two-way matched or three-way matched, then you can now post that payment into GL, the general ledger. Now, because AI, according to what the RTS said, can go through taking out the data, analyzing the data, matching it, and then putting it back in a language that finance and accountants understand, then I think it's something that could be adopted. So also in the process of procure to pay, you automate and improve the accuracy of the month-end bookkeeping, because now everything is done in an automated manner as opposed to manually where things fall through the cracks, which is normal because we're human and we make errors. We could also decide vendor payment timings, because some vendors could give you discounts for paying earlier and some vendors, they don't have a discount. AI could extract those data from the invoices and then determine, okay, if you pay these vendors sooner, you can save, say, 5%, and that's great. So that could help optimize your cash flow in order to delay the payments that are not due or doesn't have any incentive for paying early until the last minute. And then the ones that you could pay early and get incentives on, you could do it faster. Another thing that could be done as part of the invoice processing is the sales tax verification. So different jurisdictions might have different sales tax. Maybe you have operations in different jurisdictions as well. Whatever the tax law is where you operate, it may be different and you have different taxes. So that means those taxes, AI can look at them and make sure the taxes are aligned and applied accordingly, the way it's supposed to be. Another thing that AI could do when you think about it is it could also automate the capitalization of expenses and also recording of that into your GL and your accounting software. You can have API connections between the AI tool that's doing the analysis as well as your ERP in order to make sure things are done together. You could also have, by the way, AI connections between your ERP and the banks to be able to actually authorize the payments automatically from your platform when somebody has checked it. Because we always have the role of individuals, because ultimately you can't rely completely on AI. AI could do all the processing, all the heavy lifting, but then somebody might just want to run through it to just make sure everything is in order before it says go ahead and make the payments. So one other last thing that AI could also help automate in a procure to pay process is conversion of contracts in the cases of, say, service contracts into data that can now be used when the invoices are coming in. So service contract, we have payments based on milestones. And in the contract, the AI could read the contract, pick out the milestones, and then when the payments and invoices come in, it can match it to what's already picked up from the contract. So some of the things that I think AI could do in a P2P type processes right now.
Thanks so much, Ayo. I completely agree with you. Niyati, I would like to come to you to understand your perspective and a little bit more detailing, but crisply about the technologies which could be used, to embed AI, in use cases that I was talking about.
Sure. So let me walk through each maybe key step in a P2P process, right? So first you have the source from which information or invoices may be coming in. You can put in some classification models there to ensure that only the right emails or the right documents are being picked up and further sent for invoice processing. So you remove, let's say, you may have contracts in the same AP mailbox, you may have some other stuff that can be automatically ignored, and just the relevant stuff is picked up. That's where you have classic document classification or data classification models that we can employ. Then you have this piece of extraction and understanding the invoice, right? So invoices, while invoice as a document may have multiple similar fields across different vendors, across different kind of goods or services, they are not in a single form. They come in various templates, they come in various kind of forms, multi-page, single page, all kinds of things. They might even be scans. So, and I'm just focusing on invoice, but similar applies to a PO or a GRN or any other document involved in this process. So there, we can extract this information using both a combination of classical or statistical machine learning models, as well as the large language models, and further combine them with vision or layout-based models to make it an enhanced approach or a complete approach. Then comes your matching. Now, while it may seem that doing matching between a PO, a invoice, and a GRN is a calculator and a very specific task, if you look closer, it's not. Ensuring that the right line items are being matched as against, let's say, line item 1 in an invoice and line item K in a PO is correctly picked up and matched and referenced, you need sophistication. You need to allow the models for tolerance of variable text, variable, say, quantity, unit prices, all of those things. Because against a single PO, you may have multiple invoices, multiple GRNs, and the combinations go on forever. So you need, here we can use recommendation search and complex retrieval models to build a logic that allows for information extraction and information matching when in spite of ambiguity. Then comes your further drilling down, right? Now I want to do the post. I want to do a GL post. So I need to go find the GL code. So I need to know for probably at each line item level, which is the GL code associated with it. Here you can have a recommendation algorithm sitting in place. And similarly, you can identify which expenses need to be accrued. You can identify what expenses have to be capitalized, and all of those things using very small focused machine learning models to do that task, mostly predictive models or recommendation models. Finally, you want to make sure that the user here doesn't think it's a black box, or rather black magic, right? This is something that is making life very easy for the user. So you want to allow for reasoning, which is explainability or interpretability of everything that they are seeing along the way. And this is where you have human in the loop allowing models which allow for feedback-based learning, as well as building confidence for the AI by the user, right? So simply put, AI can pick up any document, whether it's an invoice or something else, understand its content, and then complete all the manual tasks of the accountant all the way to actually creating a GL entry.
Got it. Thanks. Thanks so much, Niyati. You gave an example of straight through processing of invoice, but I'm fairly sure there are many, many more examples, and we can spend hours and hours discussing on that. In the interest of time, I would like to proceed. Deepak, I believe there is a audience question once
Yes.
again
Yeah.
on what Ayo and Yeri talked about.
Yes. There's a comment from George. Maybe you want to respond to that. His comment is, your three-way match discussion is old technology that has been around for 20 years. This doesn't sound like AI to me. And then there's a follow-up comment from him.
Yeah, we will talk about that in Q&A.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can you just put up the audience poll?
Sure, we'll do that. All right. I'm going to start the next one. And here's the next one. Says, which of the following AI-led automation initiatives do you believe will create the highest benefit in the procure to pay process? Yeah, and you have 15 seconds, folks, to respond to this. It's a multiple choice question. Couple of more seconds, and then we'll end the poll. All right, we have close to 80% responses. All right, I'm going to end the poll and share the results here. There you go.
All right. So I believe first option seems like a lot of participants have answered for in P2P straight through processing of invoices seems like the the use case wherein AI will have highest impact. And I think it is in line with what probably we were discussing, right? Followed by month-end book keeping automation, vendor payment timing, and so on and so forth. Thanks so much, audience, for your feedback. We would like to proceed further. So I think I would like to come to Anna now and would like to move to order to cash and employee expense management processes. So Anna, would you like to outline some of the use cases in these processes which you believe AI can add good value?
Sure, Rajiv. So order to cash is basically issuing the invoices and collecting payments, right? So to correctly issue the invoice, you have to get a lot of information from different sources. So there is where AI shines. It can get information from POs, from master agreements, from contracts, from service agreements, from whatever you tell it. It can verify that the information doesn't contradict, like in the master agreement, you don't have something else written compared to the follow-up agreement or the rates or something else. And if implemented properly, AI can generate customer invoices with 100% accuracy. So that could be a good win for the company. I know still a person who does audit of invoices compared to contracts as an external service for the company, and they charge huge rates for that. So that's a huge saving for the company as well. In expense reporting, I don't know, like everybody hates that. Let's start from that. I haven't seen a person who was happy with the way the company processes expenses. I used to spend 2 days in my month verifying the expense reports because I had like 100 employees reporting their expenses to me monthly. That were the worst days in my month. So I would love to have something do it for me, right? But also AI can do it quicker. AI can do it with higher precision. It can verify the expense reports against the policies and only come to like a manager or some kind of human if there are some conflicts or some gray areas where you need to resolve some questions. So I would say implementing AI successfully in the expense management would be a huge win for an organization and something that would make everybody happy instantly.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I would love to have AI assistant with an employee, AI assistant with manager, AI assistant with a finance guy, and really taking care of all those mundane matching verification tasks fairly accurately. Hopefully, we will see a day for that. I know some of it is already there in through workflow automation and through OCR and all of that, but the true fun would be to see it happening, really intelligently and fairly automatic with as low involvement of employee managers and finance teams as possible. So I would like to move on. Niyati, would you have a comment on any additional techniques that you see getting applied for order to cash or employee expense management?
I think on the order to cash side, beyond invoice generation, which is core Gen AI, there is a scope of doing, say, anomaly detection, identifying causes of change in a payment regime and things like that, right? So instead of it being a post facto adjustment, if all of that can be preempted and alerts can be sent out to optimize, saying, oh, this is the right payment terms and there is a probability of a payment term changing with a vendor, preempted. On the expense side, Anna nailed it. The verification piece is something where AI can play a big role. So it's not only other associated, say, policies or contracts, it's also, say, environmental or demographic information, right? Imagine picking up geocode information based for some employee or a set of employees based on an expense they have submitted for, let's say, a big dinner. So instead of a manager worrying about was this dinner really about their organization or something else, AI can help triangulate information across different sources and make it much easier. So I mean, lot of ambiguity can be reduced, hence speeding up these processes.
Sure. Thanks so much, Niyati. Before we proceed, Deepak, I believe you have another question. Would you like to?
Yes,
Okay.
I will launch that. Within this section, we have question 2 here. Just launching it now. And the question is, which of the following AI-led automation will create the highest benefit in the O2C process in your view? Right. So this is 15 seconds again, folks, to answer this. All right. Responses trickling in. Okay, I'll give it another second or two. All right. I'm going to end this poll now, and here are the results.
Okay. So use machine learning and text processing techniques for PO extraction, basically order management, use advanced AI techniques to generate customer invoice. These are the top 2 cases. Once again, I think pretty intuitive, pretty good inputs. Thanks so much to all of you participants to answer this question. Deepak, can we close this, please?
Sure.
So now we have completed round 2, which was about advancements in AI and AI use cases in these 3 key processes, which was procure to pay, expense management, and order to cash. We are moving to the last round of panel discussion. Then we will have Q&A. We'll wind up this last round probably in just 5-6 minutes. So the next question is to Ayo. Ayo, in your view, what kind of impact do you see AI-led automation or AI implementation in P2P, OTC, and expense management, having on tangible benefits or on cost optimization?
Yes. So like I said before, all those things require a lot of manual, time-consuming tasks. And if you use AI to do it, AI will do it faster. AI will do it right the first time, more accurately. And what that does for you is it helps you to reduce the number of staff that you actually have dedicated towards doing all these manual entries. You can also get the thing done right the first time, which also helps from a quality control point of view and the credibility that you have within the organization and outside of the organization. Cost reduction from the employees is one. The negative reputational risk of doing the wrong thing and going out is another thing that you're benefiting from. And you also have a more optimized process. When you get your processes optimized, you don't necessarily have to lay off people that were doing those tasks before. You can rededicate them into more analytical and strategic roles as opposed to doing the tasks that AI can do. You can get better data accuracy. You can have access to deeper and more actionable insights because now when you use AI to generate and process all these things, AI could also give you reports and data based on all the analysis that is done, all the invoices is processed, all the receivables. So I'll give you an example. At my previous organization, we used to have manual invoice generation, which creates a lot of issues around errors in the invoices, the timing of actually getting the invoices to customers, and that affects our days of receivables. So when I joined the company, the receivable days were, I think, close to 100. And what we use is we develop some AI in-house to generate invoices automatically, to send it to customers automatically, very quickly, and also to send reminders to customers that invoice is due in 10 days, it's due in 5 days, it's due in 2 days. And also, we also have API connections to our banks to be able to get payments out to our vendors and also to confirm and reconcile payments from our customers that are paying into the account and do the matching. And I'll tell you what this did to our operations is that our payable days went down significantly, and our receivable days, which is the one that I'm most concerned about, went down from over 70 to under 30 days. And that's because we are able to actually get on top of all these invoices that has to go out to the customers and also get reminders to customers so it doesn't fall through the cracks. If you had somebody doing this, which is what we used to have somebody having to remember which invoices, and we have a lot of invoices, then it falls through the crack. They don't remember it. They don't remember to follow up on time. Of course, we still have people that follow up, but those are ways the AI could help to actually automate it. And then when you're reporting to the board, monthly reports, your receivable days, payable days, accruals, all those figures that you use to present, to prepare the presentation, you can get it very fast when you're using AI, as opposed to having somebody pull the data from your ERP and then manually generate all those graphs. I'll stop there.
Sure. Thanks so much, Ayo. Thanks for your inputs. And now, what is your view on AI benefits, especially from financial impact standpoint, for the other 4 functions in F&A?
Yeah, so the function that I talked about, like tax and compliance, treasury, FP&A, M&A, I would say implementing AI in these functions is harder to quantify, but like how can you quantify having a better forecast for the next year? How can you quantify being able to react to changes in the environment faster than your competitors? It's hard to quantify, but it's a huge thing for the company. So looking at these processes also as a target for AI implementation, I think it's a good idea. Maybe after the ones that we discussed before, the more manual ones.
Sure, Anna. Thanks so much. Would tend to agree with you. So thanks for sharing your views on financial impact. Now, my next question would be on what is your recommendation on the roadmap for AI automation adoption in any organization, right? Ayo, your comments on that?
Yeah, so like I said, most of these AI tools for P2P, O2C, expense management, they exist in bits and pieces, but they don't do a great job. I've tried a few of them and they promise a lot, but deliver not so much. So you might think, oh, we already have all these things. Why are we saying AI should do it? I don't know what technology they're using currently, but I know it doesn't work well. For P2P, when you have handwritten invoices or carbon copied invoices, it's very difficult for all these new current tools in the market to actually read those kind of invoices. So what I would say is that if you want to implement AI in your business, look at the pain points around those P2P, O2C expense management. Which one do you have more of? Are you a company that has a lot of vendors? Are you a company that has a lot of receivables? Are you a company that is sales oriented, so you have a lot of expense management? That will determine which one you implement first. And then when you want to implement, you need to try out different AI products and tools and assistants that are out there. There are a lot of so-called quote unquote AI assistants out there, but like I said, most of them don't work well. And they will actually create more work for you than actually helping you to optimize your work because they're not picking up the smaller things that has to be picked up in the data that they're matching or analyzing. So what I would suggest is look at your pain points, the biggest pain points, look around, shop around, do tests and checks, then implement the one that can help you resolve your biggest pain points first. And as you're embedding that into the organization and getting people to welcome and adopt AI properly, then you can think about where next can you deploy AI in your organization. So that's the approach that we took at my previous organization, and that's the approach I would recommend.
Sure, Ayo. Thanks so much. Anna, your comments on this, please.
Yeah, I'll be fast. I think Ayo covered most of it. Starting with the biggest pain point in the most manual task in your organization is the best idea. Also, maybe educating the team about what is AI and asking their inputs on what they think is the best area for AI implementation might be also a way to handle that. But I largely agree with Ayo here.
Sure, sure. Thanks so much, Anna. So I think we will go to audience questions now, Deepak.
Yeah, I think we have 8 minutes more left, so we can take
Right.
some questions.
So
We had one comment from George. Maybe you want to respond to that to begin with and see if others
sure,
have any questions.
sure, sure. So this is the uh, let me see which comment you are referring.
I'm referring to George's comment around he
You
was
may want to read
mentioning.
it.
Yeah, I can quickly read that. So he mentions procure to pay may be manual, but it's done by lower paid clerks, need something with ROI, like closing the books for multiple reasons, right? And I can't find accountants anymore, shortage of supply. They want much more money, therefore need AI to eliminate the traditional staff and senior accountants to close fast so executives can see how our economic performance quicker. This is where AI is needed the most.
Yeah,
What do you say?
I think I would completely agree with George. I think it's an outstanding comment, and this is what exactly organizations should do. I mean, rather than struggling by hiring additional staff, let AI do so to speak manual tasks, and and some of the analytical tasks let the senior accountants do, and things like that, right? So I would tend to agree with George.
Right.
Um,
We have Adam. Also, there's a comment, but also a question towards the end. So I'm going to quickly read that out. This is from Adam Nick. I'm a recruiter in accounting and finance. Thank you for allowing me to join this discussion. Thanks for joining, Adam. As AI integrates into our field, I'm curious about which roles might become redundant in accounting and finance. In my business, AI has streamlined many administrative tasks and significantly enhanced my productivity, demonstrating similar potential in this field. While I believe AI can handle any task with proper training, critical thinking from employees remains essential. Are you incorporating AI? And that's the question. Are you incorporating AI experts into your teams to navigate this transition? I would love to hear your thoughts on how you're preparing your teams.
Great question. I would give it to Anna to answer it first. Anna, your comments on it?
Yeah, so some roles will definitely be eliminated, not maybe too soon, but within 5 to 10 years, everything that is highly manual will probably be replaced by AI in this or that extent. Like the approach here is to more elevate analytical and strategic capabilities or finance teams. And also we will need more people who can actually handle AI in different finance processes. And there is a huge shortage of this kind of talent now. The other part of the question is how are we incorporating AI experts into our teams? I would say start with yourself. I'm spending a lot of time learning and experimenting with different AI tools, and there is a lot of information out there. So start with yourself, give this knowledge to your teams, and and then discuss what, as we talked before, what is the biggest pain point and where do you want to start implementing? And make sure that the area that first implemented AI talks to all other areas, that they communicate their success, they say, that they are happy about what's going on, and that other areas will have a faster buy-in of AI, which is not happening in many organizations still.
Sure. Thanks, Anna. Thanks so much. Any other question? Audience, you can type your question in Q&A section of the webinar, and we will take it up. In the meanwhile, we are waiting for a question. Deepak, you have, I think, one last poll.
Yes, I do. I
You
can
want to put it to
yeah,
audience?
yeah, I can do a quick poll. I have one that might be interesting here. Select the functions where you think AI implementations could yield the greatest cost savings. That's the question. You have 15 seconds, folks. And
yeah, while this is happening, Deepak,
yeah,
there is a question that I will read,
sure.
which has been asked by Tirtha Shetty. Do you think there will be any change that can be taught to finance students at educational level? So essentially, IO, the question that is asked is, do you see need of change in CPA, CA curriculum with AI coming in? And if so, what it could be?
Yes, I do. I think in the curriculum of accounting and finance students, we need to incorporate more machine learning and AI type basic tools and awareness. Because if you understand what these tools are capable of, then as you come out as a finance professional, accounting professional, you can have it at the back of your mind to think that, hey, this thing that you're asking me to do, why don't we get a machine to do it? Because based on my knowledge from the data science course that I took in school, I know that AI can do XYZ. And you can be the advocate to the senior finance professionals in your organization, because people don't like change, and usually changes are pushed gradually. And if you have all the new staff coming in that are aware of AI tools and what they are capable of, and aware of data science and what they're capable of, then they can help make the change. Like, for example, I take myself, as Anna was saying, he says you need to start from yourself in order to change your organization. What I did to myself is I went to take a data science course just to understand more about AI tools. I did machine learning. I learned how to use Python to generate different analysis. And then I realized that, hey, this is interesting. AI could actually do a lot of these things that we're hiring people to do right now. Why don't we look for tools that are out there? People, because I know people will be developing tools they can adopt and use in order to be able to do all these things. So that's what piqued my interest. I know people are shouting AI, 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 but like Nyati said, AI has been around forever. It's just that now is when the buzz is getting bigger. All those tools, analysis, have been around. It's just the application of them now that you're realizing. So after I took my data science course, when I look at my Netflix recommendation, I know exactly the analysis that's been done on the background for them to be recommending what they're recommending to me.
Yeah,
And when you're applying for a loan, I could tell the kind of analysis they could do to predict who will pay and who will default. So all those AI tools are something that you need to incorporate into the curriculum of data science, into the curriculum of new finance and accounting professionals coming out.
Thanks so much, Ayo. Thanks so much. I'm sorry I'm cutting you short. The reason is we are running out of time. With audience permission, participant permission, we will take 2 more minutes. In the meanwhile, there is a poll output. Procure to pay is the first one in terms of greatest cost savings, followed by order to cash. Thanks, Deepak, for this. In the meanwhile, there is a question from Simon, and I think we'll wind up the discussion in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. We will take this one last question, which is from Simon. Simon is asking a question: can AI make more effective and profitable financial decisions? So Anna, would you like to take this? And Niyati, after that, would you like to add on, to what Anna perhaps would respond from AI perspective? Anna?
Yeah, so, okay, I would be maybe I might sound conservative here, but I wouldn't let AI make the decisions. But I would let AI prepare the decisions for us. I would let the AI handle invoices, bills, expense reports, and show me the result, and then ask me, what do you want to do with that? There is also an excellent question, like I want Alexa to tell me, you need to borrow more, or you need to place your excess money somewhere. I would love to get this kind of advice from AI, but I would be very careful actually implementing these actions, just the way you act with any other advice from anybody else from your team, right? You don't necessarily act on this advice. But AI can for sure help you to get close to the right decision.
Yes. And essentially the way we would do that is build analytics and reports, right? So insight. So let's say from a large set of invoices, We can identify the discount opportunities. And then you can have a report which, when you weigh against your cost of capital, you can help say, okay, these invoices you should pay now. These invoices you should pay later. These are the potential discounts you have maybe missed, or these are the opportunities you should take up. So while it may not directly kind of say, go do the payment or actually do the payment on your behalf yet, but it will kind of, these systems can pretty much bring it in your face. Okay, here is an opportunity, here is a potential penalty, hey, look out. So it's through analysis of large, long or data over time, and the understanding, deep understanding from the context of an organization's ERP, their policies, all of that, AI can help you make a lot of these easier and more profitable.
Yeah, agree with you, Niyati. Thanks so much, Anna and Niyati. I think we would like to wind up. I know George, Adam, your comments in the chat. I would personally agree with what you are saying. Some of it probably will summarize in the ready reckoner or the output that we'll create out of this webinar. But before we wind up, Deepak, would you have any last comments?
Right. Yeah. So just wanted to thank everybody for a great interactive session, and we will basically be sending you a digital certificate of your participation by the end of next week, and the ready reckoner that Rajiv just mentioned, from today's discussion, right? So which will have the prior research that we've done on this topic. So yeah, that's all I have from my side, and yeah, thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.